Yo, people, Big Life Journal, third session on this one. We're going to start with an activity today, and again, based around the growth mindset, fixed mindset, and looking at different ways to understand that. And if you don't understand it completely now, it's completely fine. The idea of doing this is so that we learn a little bit more about what each one is, and how we can sort of change and improve our brain and learn new things and all those sorts of things. All right, so this bit. This is what we're doing. You're going to be creating an app. If you want to do this, you can. I'm not going to leave a huge deal of time to do it, but if you've got comments and you want to sort of brainstorm, chuck them in the comments, and we'll be able to go through this if you've got any questions with what we're doing. All right. Imagine you were asked to develop an app that would teach others about the immense power of their brain to learn, grow, and adapt. What would the app do? For example, it could help users exercise their brain by solving interesting puzzles, or it could be a memory boosting game. Create a concept for an app which you would actually use yourself. Oh, I just actually got a really cool one. In a few words, describe what your app is about. Okay. Mine's just going to be called speed memory because this is how you remember things. It's how the sort of brain's wired to remember things. I'll do an exercise with you now and see if you can get it. But this is something I'm going to be teaching. I teach in my camps and things where I've got a little bit more time to work with the kids, teach them how to remember properly the way the brain's actually designed to. And it can help improve their learning enormously. In a few words, describe what your app is about. So mine's about improving memory and showing people how memory actually works effectively. Who is the app for? This can be for anyone. It can for kids. Probably, I've done it with 7-year-olds. So probably, I'd say about 6, 7 years up. 5 and down be tough. It'd be a bit hit and miss. What are the main features of your app which make it unique and interesting? It's awesome for memory. All right. Create a screen sketch for your app and show how it would look. That's what you do here. If you've got an idea for an app, write it down. Mine, pretty much, I'll explain it because I think maybe I'll draw on the whiteboard because this might make it a little bit easier. Let's use. If I've got green, I'll be really happy. I don't know that I do. So. Remembering anything, if you struggle remembering lists or anything like that, this is a phenomenal. I'll do 1 to 5 because it's. I'll just make it really easy, right? So I don't know who's on, but if you're on and you can type in here, I want you to tell me. Make this so you know I'm not pulling your leg. Tell me 5 random things, whatever they are. If you want to write them in. If not, that's cool. I'll come up with them. I'm just going to look around my room and see random things, and I'm going to write them in. So for number 1, and then I'm just going to put it away, and I'll just remember it, and I'll tell you how I remember it. And you can do this with longer lists. If we get to 10, 15, you can remember lists and things in like 5 seconds. Like it takes a really, really short amount of time. So first one, I'm going to put my goals because I've got my. Oh, can you read that? That's a bit dodgy, isn't it? Let's use orange. These colors actually don't matter for this. Oh, well, they can for this exercise, but at this stage they don't. So I've got my goal sheets there. I've got a picture of me with a snake there. I've got a plant. And I've got first aid kit. And I've got a fan. Okay, so that's the list. Right, you've got 5 seconds to remember that list. Don't write it down, but we'll go through this exercise. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, boom, down. All right. Now the idea is I'm going to say a number and you want to try and remember what that was on the list. So number 3. What was number 3? It was the plant. Okay. What was number 5? 5, I'm pretty sure, is a fan. Usually you can remember 1 and 5 pretty easily. You don't, or if it's 1 to 100, usually remember number 1, number 100 pretty easily. The middle ones can get a little bit harder. What was number 2? It was the snake. What was number 4? 4 was the first aid. And number 1 was the goals. Okay. And I can just do that in any order. And I can do that from 1 to 10. Makes it really, really easy. But this is completely off the big life journal book, but let's do it because it's a cool exercise. So what I'm basically doing is, what you do for the list is you turn them into pictures, right? So this number 1, what I'm doing in my head is I change it into an arrow hitting for goals is like a target. So an arrow hitting a target. For me, that's 1 being the arrow hitting a target, goals. So 1, goals. That's the image I've got. Remembering by images is way easier for your brain. 2, so 2 for me, one of the numbers that I remember is it's got an arrow this way, an arrow that way, and it's like good or evil. It also, it can look like a snake. It's very easy to draw a snake in the shape of a number 2, but good or evil, and I get snake because that's good or evil. It's for another list that I remember, number 2. And I get snake because of the Adam and Eve reference. Snake was the evil one, leading to the apple. So that's how I remember snake. 3, plant. I draw the 3 and I just imagine that they're sort of leaves. So I draw like leaves in there. And then it's like plant with leaves. It's a bit weird, but I made it work in my head. So it's like the 3 actually looks like a plant to me. 4, first aid kit. 4 can look like a chair. Like you're sitting in a chair, going to the doctor, getting first aid, right? 5, I didn't actually get to creating an image for it. But for a fan, I suppose you could look at that as like a handle and then spin that handle round and round, and that could be like your fan. It's like using that handle, spinning it really fast, and then that bit could be like your fan. That's how you could do it. So if you can, Maya would be teaching people how to create images out of numbers and then tying them together with whatever the list is. And it makes it really, really easy to remember. And you don't have to go through, like, if you're going, like, if you were doing letters of the alphabet and you said, what's the 13th letter of the alphabet? I have no idea. But if you went through and did 1, 2, 3, 4, A, B, C, you would be able to pick up numbers like that. Because it's how the brain's actually designed to learn. It's a really, really cool technique. But if you do a list of, if you've got a list, you can do this with times tables, you can do this with addition when you're learning, you can do this with people's names, you can do this with what's that chart in chemistry? Yeah, one where it's got all the elements, elemental chart, I guess, I don't know, whatever it's called. But you can do it with that. It's an incredibly powerful skill. It's one I'm going to be teaching in the next program that I do. And it's one of the probably coolest things that I know that I use very, very rarely, and I hope to be using more. But that's what my app would be anyway. It's teaching people how to remember properly in a way that we're designed to. It's not difficult. It's really, really easy because it's the way the brain is designed to work. Okay. If you've developed an app and you've got a different idea, chuck that in. But what we're going to get through now is reading this. So I'm just going to read you this story. Run for a year. My only goal was to keep running. Okay. I'm just going to read you a story about this chick, and we'll discuss it a little bit at the end when we're looking at growth and fixed mindset. Okay. I ran for a year. My only goal was to keep running. I started running a year ago. I didn't entirely start from scratch. In the past, I had jogged every once in a while, maybe once a month. My first run was 2 miles at 12 minutes per mile. That's pretty slow. However, for a non-athlete, I felt fairly good about it. I jogged a couple more times that week. After a couple of weeks of regular jogging, I set a goal for myself. I knew I would never be fast enough to impress anybody, so it didn't make sense to make speed my goal. I could have picked a race to train for, a 5K or a half miler, Seems odd. But I knew how those ended. Everyone seems to quit running right after their big race. I wanted to do something different. I wanted to not quit. Good goal. My goal involved not going too long between runs. If I skipped more than a couple of days, wouldn't that be quitting? So I started running 4 or 5 days a week. The longest I went between runs was 3 days when I was on vacation in Hawaii. My goal made all the difference. I was still slow, but I felt good about running a lot. I'd have good days where I'd run fast and feel great, but also had lots of bad days where I was tired and just didn't feel like running. In retrospect, those days were almost better than the good days because they reinforced my goal. I didn't quit. I ran my first 5K on Halloween nearly 5 months after I'd taken up running as a hobby. I wore a costume, fairy wings, and tried to keep up with a random guy with an owl on his head. I finished in 28 minutes and was super happy. I learned racing wasn't always about being the fastest, but doing my personal best. I signed up to run a full marathon in December, hired a running coach, and set a regular running schedule. I've started to think of myself as a runner. If you would have told me a year ago that I would be working out almost every day and running 100 miles a month, I would never have believed you. Running really snuck up on me. I had modest aspirations and didn't really care if I was great at running. I just wanted to stick to my one goal: don't quit. Leah Culver, startup founder. Leah Culver started as a slow and inexperienced runner. She was a startup founder after all, not a professional athlete. She knew she could improve as long as she stayed consistent and didn't quit. So she focused on the process and on showing up. By having a growth mindset about running, sticking to the schedule, and not quitting, she was able to reach extraordinary results. It's common to have a growth mindset in one area and a fixed mindset in another. For example, a runner who knows she can improve her marathon time with practice, growth mindset, might think she is terrible at building relationships, fixed mindset. Mark the scale where you think your mindset falls in the areas listed below. Okay. When I think about all right, so there's going to be a list of things here. If you want to write these down, this would be a scale. So think of, it's just a moving scale, just fill it up. So if you think you're fixed, then you'd be down there. If you think you're sort of in the middle there, if you think you're full growth mindset for that, then write it there. So ability to concentrate. For me personally, I think most of them will be at the growth end. So mine would be more towards growth end. For friendships and relationships, probably a little bit further back there. That's one area that I would like to work on more. Reading abilities, boom, all the way at the end, growth. Writing abilities, I just don't really care about it. But I can learn more, and I do copy courses, so probably there-ish. Math abilities, yeah, well, you can always learn more. I just don't want to. So it's completely fine if you don't want to get better at these things. Like I'm saying, like math, I just don't care about learning like really advanced math. Right now, I would actually like to learn quantum physics one day. So I have to get better at math for that, but not right now. That's the later on thing for me. What's that say? Overall academic potential. Depends how you measure academic. Like if you're measuring it at school, again, me personally, I just don't care about school results because I don't think it translates to the real world. But you can always do the work to learn more. So I'd still put myself there. I was okay at school. Could have been a lot better than what I was, but I just didn't really care. Performance in sports, that can always be improved, but there's mental blockers there for me sometimes, so I'll put close to the end. Body image and looks, that can always be improved, and that's one I work on daily, so yes. Character, I thought it said character. Yes, character can always be improved, so up there for me. And artistic skills. Now, this is funny because even in these videos you watch me, like I say, I'm not an artist. So that would actually probably be much more of a fixed mindset for me. It's something I know I can change. Again, just I don't really care right now. I'm happy drawing stick figures. It's fine. I'll learn to do art later on. It's just not something that I'm really focused on now. But I would class my mindset with art as pretty fixed at the moment. It's funny. I hadn't actually thought about that. So yeah, it's just a fun exercise to go through. I've gone over time already, so I'm just going to leave it there. But the next one that we've got is on affirmations, and these are quite powerful, and these can improve self-confidence, self-image enormously. So we'll get to that next week. But I hope that learning exercise was in some way valuable. Maybe not. I'll do more of those later on. If you've got questions, if there's things that you want to talk more about, just put it in the comments, and I'm happy to discuss those. But thanks for watching. I'll see you later. Bye.